Well, good evening, Sigma race fans. We come at you live here tonight from Charlotte for the Mini Coke 100, a sprint qualifier to see who will make it into the Coke 600 tomorrow. And we've got quite a field here, folks. Your points leader in trucks, Bridge to Cup, ARCA, and some other stars within the other leagues as well that are going to be trying to make their first ever cup start. First, they've got to qualify through the sprint qualifier here today to make the Coke 600 tomorrow. Of course, we've got our pretty standard regulars that try to make the field each week. Dalton Scott has been a cup full-timer this year, making it in through the sprint qualifiers. But he's got Campbell Marsh alongside of him, who has been on a tear in the Sigma ARCA series. Then we've got Billy Lovejoy with the U.S. Army Chevrolet there alongside Finley Herwig, who is your current Sigma ARCA points leader. Alex Sanvital, who has been on a tear in the truck series, starts alongside Eli the Wolf. Ralph Oberstadt, an ARCA regular alongside Jimmie Logano. Wyatt Wilkinson in the number 17 here for LFG Motorsports, looking to make the main event tomorrow alongside David Bird there in the number 96. Jonah Burridge and Maggie Reams. Carson Bauers and Ryan White. Alan Malcolm and John Brinker. Cooper Dwight doing a throwback to a scheme that he ran very, very early in his NASCAR Racing 2003 career alongside the misguided missile Michael LeBeau. James Gunner and Dave Steele Jr. Kevin Xavier and Nelson Chacon. Jordan Walker and Adam Starr. Krista Cower and Ant Meeperson. Justin Day2 and Cam Jordan, with Gannon Bird and Daniel Paulus Jr. rounding out the field here today.
Gentlemen, start your engines!
Nice long day. We're right here to support you. Get the best we can. Get a good finish out.
Alrighty, folks. So 100 laps here is no simple walk in the park. This is kind of an endurance race for a lot of new faces trying to get their first ever career Sigma Cup start. And they're going to have a lot of very fast cars that they got to beat here tonight. Dalton Scott is always up front in these sprint qualifiers this year. Justin Day2 luckily gets to hop into a Jaguar-powered ride right there in the 89. So that helps a lot. We've seen how dominant Jaguar has been. Billy Lovejoy running in third there, supporting the troops after this Memorial Day weekend that we just had. It's often a lot of the schemes you see at the Coke 600. There we got Finley Herwig moving up on the inside of the 37 there. Going for the lead, though, it is Campbell Marsh. Dalton holds him off there. But here comes Billy Lovejoy. Finley Herwig now getting alongside the 37 there. We've got some good side-by-side racing throughout the field here. Jimmie Logano up into the top 10. Last car in a transfer spot at the moment is David Bird in the number 96. So those that are on the outside looking in, wow, Eli the Wolf gets up into the wall there. This is a very, very scary position to be for Eli the Wolf, who currently sits top 10 in the points. He has been pretty much able to qualify through into the sprint qualifier main events every week. And a little bit of adversity here early on in this 100-lapper around Charlotte. He could be giving up a top 10 in the points here if he doesn't get in for the Coke 600 tomorrow. Obviously, with the length of this, there's going to be some fuel mileage and strategy playing out. Trying to make it 3 wide for second place. Finley Herwig down on the low side here. Campbell Martian second. Billy Lovejoy still holding on to third. Usually Charlotte is well known for the wrecks and carnage that we've seen here in Sigma Cup racing. Everyone's playing pretty calm, cool, and collected right now. 9 laps in. But just give them another 80 laps and it'll be no holds barred for these drivers wanting to make it in to the main event. Impressively, Ralph Oberstadt, Alex Sanvital, David Bird, and Wyatt Wilkinson still holding on to those transfer spots at the moment. But knocking on the door, you've got Maggie Reams in the 34, Ryan White just kind of hanging out in the background there. Eli the Wolf trying to mount a charge. You got Alan Malcolm, Jonah Burridge, Carson Bauers, Michael LeBeau, James Gunner, Cooper Dwight, John Brinker, Jordan Walker, Dave Steele Jr., Krista Cower. Kevin Xavier's running pretty deep here in the field. Might need a little bit of luck to come his way here tonight. Not very often you have a sprint qualifier this huge in the Sigma Cup Series. Being a crown jewel event, the last time that we had 60 some cars attempting to make the race was Daytona at the start of the year. Actually, correction, that was Armory Digital Super Speedway, our form of Daytona. And so we had duels to set the field for the Armory season opener race, and this is the next biggest field that we've had since then. 15 races into the schedule. Dalton Scott has been holding on strong here with the lead, keeping the 89 at bay. But Campbell Marsh keeping it really close here with our leader. Billy Lovejoy dipping down low, making a move for second. Finley Herwig also goes low. And they settle back into single file. Maggie Reams gets up to 8th here. Falling backwards, Wyatt Wilkinson gets shuffled out of the mix temporarily. We'll see if he can recover and make a charge back into the top 8, top 9. But as it sits right now, David Bird on the bubble as Ryan White's knocking on the door here. That is a Jacob Shangle Racing number 62 Genesis. Actually 2 team cars there. The 66 of Burridge, also a JSR Genesis entry. Finley gets up to 3rd here, bumping Billy Lovejoy back to 4th. Jonah Burridge up to 5th. Really doesn't seem like anyone has the speed to get around Dalton Scott here so far. It's been a dominant showing out of the gate for Dalton Scott. Ryan White has worked his way into the last transfer spot for now. Jonah Burridge right behind him. Well, 29 laps in so far. No cautions. Everyone's been running smooth as butter. Dalton Scott has led the 89 of Campbell Marsh this whole time. Finley Herwig under attack by Ralph Oberstadt for third. Billy Lovejoy in fifth. Those five at the front on a pretty singled out here. Here we go, Campbell Marsh going for the lead on Dalton Scott here. This could open the gates for Finley Herwig to start knocking. There's likely going to be at least one round of pit stops here in the Mini Coke. I'm thinking we're going to start seeing pit stops at around lap 60 to 65. I'm impressed here with David Bird having a solid run, staying in a transfer spot. That number 96 for Calvin Steele Racing. It's a great team to be racing for, and he's doing a great job with the 96 engine there. Bridge to Cup points leader Carson Bauers getting by Maggie Reams here for a transfer spot. But Maggie fights back on the high side and takes the position away. Eli the Wolf hanging on for dear life within the top draft here. We only have about 14 cars in the lead draft as the secondary groups have fallen off. We do have a lead swap as Campbell Marsh gets by Dalton Scott. And now there is blood in the water. These five can see that the 15 is faltering here slightly. Here comes Ralph Oberstadt on Finley Herwig for third. Looks like he's going to have an opportunity here. He's got an edge on the 68. 68 is going to use the momentum on the high side to try and drag race him down the backstretch here. A little bit of drafting help behind Oberstadt is going to give him another shot. Jimmie Logano and Billy Lovejoy, all of which are Chevy comrades in the mix there. Maggie Reams up in the last transfer spot in ninth. But Carson Bauers definitely going to want a say in the matter. Whoa, 3 wide as Billy Lovejoy gets shuffled backwards there. Billy Lovejoy, he's been doing really good wherever he races in the series, and it's sounding like he could be moving up that ladder a little quicker with the successes that he's been achieving here in Sigma Racing. Had a truck win on the season, and you know, there's some teams that are thinking about giving him a shot in Bridge to Cup on a part-time basis next year. Maybe more, who knows. Depends on how many folks, how many open seats might exist in Bridge to Cup for 2026. But another star that's trying to move up through the series right there. Having a great running here tonight and may very well make his first ever career Sigma Cup start if he can stay in the top 9. Sitting 8th right now, he's going to have to start playing it a little bit more careful as he could be in the bubble here shortly. Maggie Reams on the bubble. And I definitely would not want this car breathing down my back. The 40 of Carson Bauers. 5 wins in Bridge to Cup competition this year. He's almost, a certain candidate to move up to this Cup Series sooner than later. Whether his Bridge to Cup success converts over to a championship this year is yet to be seen. But he's definitely off to a great start, and it's going to be hard to stop him. Well, we are about halfway through the mini Coke here tonight. 49 laps in, 51 laps to go, and pit stops are going to be along the way here. Impressively, there has only been 2 leaders here tonight. Campbell Marsh of his ARCA presence leading the way over Dalton Scott, the 2010 Sigma Cup champion. That is quite the gauge there for Campbell Marsh to be up there beating the inaugural Cup champion of the circuit. But nonetheless, this is only an appetizer for the main course tomorrow night. The Coke 600. These 2 drivers, as they're running right now, would be good enough to make it into the main. And then they'd have to be going up against the likes of Al Bunch, Braden Varga, and the Shangle clan, which have actually held victory here the last 2 races. So the Coke 600 in 2023 was won by yours truly, Mr. Jacob Shangle, followed by Tyler Shangle in 2024. So could there be a recurring trend there with the Shangle household taking victory at the Coke 600? The Vegas odds don't look very pretty for that to be a trend going forward into tomorrow's race, as there has not been a Shangle to victory lane yet in 2025. But might as well pick a big race like this to capitalize, and we'll see how everything turns out after 600 miles of racing around Charlotte. Before our first round of pit stops, it looks like Campbell Marsh is going to lead them through. Got some pits happening right now. Dalton Scott second. 44 had some damage. I wonder what happened to Michael, the misguided missile, here tonight. Kind of hard to tell. Must have just got bumped into the wall. He is called the misguided missile for a reason. As you can see, he's probably going to have a close call of some sort here on lap 22. Oh yeah, he just clipped the wall. Drove it in a little too hard there. Kissed the wall. Kind of like a Darlington stripe, if you might. So our leaders still have not pitted. I was trying to do a through the field to see who's in the transfer spots. Finley Herwig, Ralph Oberstadt, Jimmie Logano, Alex Sanvital, David Bird, Billy Lovejoy, and Maggie Reams. Reams coming down pit road amongst your leading 9. There might be a little bit of drama here. I saw some smoke. I saw some dirt and debris. Oh, another driver clips the wall. Where did the dust come from, I wonder? Ooh. Well, a near caution, a near miss. The 66 of Jonah Burge there gets clipped into the wall. The 49 there of Alan Malcolm. And the rest of your leaders now on pit road. So now things are going to get shaken up a little bit here with pit stops. Still staying green as we are going to now turn around lap 60 here in the Mini Coke 100. And I could be wrong, but I think Finley Herwig is going to shuffle out to being your new leader here. Might be a few more folks still staying out, which is a gamble, and it looks like they're going to come back out. 33 of Oberstadt comes out behind the 68 of Herwig. Dalton on old tires. Oh, and Finley clips the wall there. And here comes Campbell Marsh. So turns out that there's not a whole lot of shuffling, but he's on cold tires and he's going to get overhauled here by your leaders. Oh, Dalton gets into the wall, and Finley now closes the gap on your leader. Finley making a move for the lead. You've got two ARCA stars fighting for a spot in the big event here tomorrow. How wild and crazy is that? Still holding on. And now up to fourth. Maggie Reams has really made it through the field here. Jimmie Logano in sixth. Ralph Oberstadt in fifth. Actually, fifth, sixth. They just swapped positions there. Seventh is David Bird. Billy Lovejoy in eighth, but he's going to have his hands full here with Carson Bauers, Alex Sanvital, and Wyatt Wilkinson. Seems like Wyatt's made an adjustment and then he gets into the wall. That's going to hurt his momentum hardcore there. These drivers are giving it their all here tonight, trying to push the limits of these cars, and they're kind of turning this race into a Darlington-esque race where they keep clipping the wall. You gotta love it, though, that they're actually putting that much into this race. It's a huge deal to get into the Coke 600 tomorrow. Your top 6, 7 are pretty safe at the moment. Doesn't seem like, apart from lap traffic, might give them a rainy day here, but 36 laps left to go. I think you're looking at just about half of your transfers with a solid seat to make it in. Although this race does not pay any points, it doesn't pay any money, the bragging rights come with a win in the sprint qualifier. And quite frankly, momentum. Winning the sprint qualifier allows these drivers to know what their cars have and what they're capable of doing for the main event. Crazy how the cream rises to the top so many times in Sigma Cup action. Carson Bauers, your points leader in Bridge to Cup. Finley Herwig, your points leader in the ARCA series. The only points leader that we don't have up in the transfer spots right now is the Alan Malcolm ride out there. Seems like he's having a bit of a struggle outside of the top 20, or actually in 20th. Still getting seat time. That's all that really matters here. A lot of these drivers probably didn't anticipate to make the main event. Oh, and we've got a blown engine here in the 13 of Ant Meeperson. There's oil down on track. Sigma officials are going to throw the yellow. That's only one other thing we needed here. A little bit more drama for the transfer. So far, we have been treated to an amazing race. I can only anticipate how it's going to be tomorrow night. This is some fun racing. Close quarters, competitive drivers. I mean, you've got easily about 6 cars fighting for the win here. And with a caution in the mix, that could definitely bring more drivers to the front. And this is the caution that a lot of drivers were desperately hoping for when it looked like their days were coming to an end. They get one more shot, like a gold pot at the end of the rainbow. I do feel it's going to be hard to beat some of these drivers that have held the top 9 positions here today. We haven't seen any of these top 5 worse than 9th all day. The worst that Campbell Marsh has been is 2nd. The worst that Dalton Scott has been is, well, 3rd right now. Finley Herwig's been in the top 8 all night, as well as Ralph Oberstadt, who's continued to hold a top 9 position, top 5 right now. Jimmie Logano showing why he belongs in the Sigma Cup Series. Maggie Reams, she's been picking them off one by one and moving through the field, so I would not underestimate the speed that that 34 has. She could be fighting for the win here in the sprint qualifier. David Bird, Billy Lovejoy, it seems like his car has kind of faltered here towards the end of it. All he's got to do is hold on for 25 laps after the caution is lifted here. What's going on here? Finley Herwig drops to the apron. He's got a flat tire. No. The 68 of Finley has been on a tear here tonight, and he's going to have to go down pit road to get a tire fixed. Wow. Terrible, terrible break for the 68 team there. They've been looking strong. They've been looking fast. And now he's going to get dropped all the way to the back. We do double file restarts here at the Sigma Cup level, and so there's no telling if we might get another caution or two. So Finley might not be out of this completely, but it's truly was not something he wanted to see. Didn't want to test moving through the field here today. The only good part is he'll be on fresh tires while the rest of the field has decided to stay out here. That could be a game changer with 4 fresh tires moving through the field. Lights should be off on the pace car, and they are getting doubled up for the restart. Should be a quick fix. He'll be right back out in time to catch the tail end of the field. There we go. Finley rejoins the racetrack here. We've added laps for green-white checker just in case it's needed. Well, we are getting ready for the restart with 25 laps to go. Finley's going to have a running start here from the back of the field. Oh, whoops. Well, that's one way to do it. I didn't anticipate him to actually beat the field to the front of the field there. I thought he was going to get held up by the lap traffic, so I was going to give him a running start, but, well, it kind of backfired there, so. Sigma officials don't seem to be doing anything about it either. I mean, you can pass on the outside before the start. He did it cleanly, clipped the wall and everything, and he's out front now by a very sizable margin over the rest of the field. There's no way we're going to make it without a wreck, and Dalton Scott's wrecking here. Oh, and collects Wyatt Wilkinson. So things just got wilder here. Ryan White's involved in it. Dalton Scott's going to miss the Coke 600. He's way up there in the points and gets clipped there by Jimmie Logano of all drivers. Let's watch it in slow-mo here. And Dalton was the one that got into the wall, so that was mostly on Dalton there. Wyatt Wilkinson with nowhere to go. Ryan Wyatt as well, nowhere to go. Michael LeBeau. And you can see the carnage rolling out behind them. Tough break for some big names here tonight. I was really looking forward to Wyatt Wilkinson and Willow Blake tomorrow night in the Coke 600. But unfortunately for Wyatt, was not meant to be. And that is why we've got green-white checkers enabled. It could get very wild here tonight. Finley having another problem here on the apron. Man, it has been a tough past 10 laps there for the 68 driver. Campbell Marsh, Ralph Oberstadt, Maggie Reams, Billy Lovejoy, Jimmie Logano, David Bird, and Carson Bauers. Alex Sanvital, Jordan Walker, Eli the Wolf, Daniel Paulus Jr., James Gunner, Cooper Dwight, Kevin Xavier, Jonah Burridge, John Brinker, Alan Malcolm, Dave Steele Jr., Nelson Chacon, Gannon Bird, Krista Cower, and Adam Starr. Dalton Scott's going to keep on rolling. He's going to try to get back into this thing, but I think it's not gonna be an easy one now. The game has pretty much fixed the minor glitch that we had there in scoring with the pit stop on Finley Herwig. They gave him a simple stop and go back to the end of the field for you. Well, now we're getting into the nitty-gritty. The transfer spots are starting to change here. Retirements on the race have grown. Ryan White out, Michael LeBeau out, Wyatt Wilkinson out, as well as Ant Meeperson and Justin Daytu also out of the race. Sprint qualifier it is. 21 cars on the lead lap, 4 cars a lap down. We'll actually give the wave around to the 49. The lights should go off on the pace car this time by. So, resetting for yet another restart here tonight. It's going to be Campbell Marsh, Ralph Oberstadt, Maggie Reams, Billy Lovejoy, and Jimmie Logano. Then you've got David Bird, Carson Bauers, and Alex Sanvital with Jordan Walker in the 9th position. Eli the Wolf on the outside looking in, Daniel Paulus, James Gunner, Cooper Dwight, Kevin Xavier, and Jonah Burridge. Still in the mix here. A little bit of damage on that 66, but might be the last of the fast cars amongst the top 15. As we get doubled up again, it might take us quite a while to get these last 19 laps in, especially if green-white checkers start to play into this. Pace car is off, and here we go. Let's try it again. Campbell Marsh has not put a wheel wrong yet today. Neither has Ralph Oberstadt for that matter. But here comes Maggie Reams making it 3 wide for the lead. Billy Lovejoy creeping into the picture. 3 wide for the lead is definitely not something you want to see here. Ralph Oberstadt might be better off to kind of let off and get in line here. 37, that is a teammate in Billy Lovejoy's. They're both Calvin Steel Racing entries. They actually kind of settle down a little bit. Wow, Cooper Dwight giving it one hell of a push there to try and make it 3 wide for about 10th place. He knows that he needs to get to work and get to work quick if he wants to get into a transfer spot here. His teammate is about 5 cars ahead of him, and that is a transfer spot for Carson Bauers. But Cooper Dwight sitting in 12th, 13th right now. That ain't going to be good enough. Campbell Marsh, Ralph Oberstadt, Maggie Reams, Billy Lovejoy, they've all settled in single file right now, with Jimmie Logano also trying to get settled in there. But the final transfer spot is very much up for grabs. Alex Sanvital on the high side in the Monster Energy 54 Toyota there. Daniel Paulson, a very similar colored Mountain Dew entry, on the outside looking in, as well as Eli the Wolf, both drivers just barely outside of the transfer spot. Jordan Walker holding on to the final spot for now. He's going to have to hold off a hard charging Eli the Wolf. And I'm not forgetting about the front of the field. I'm watching out of the corner of my eye. It looks like Ralph Oberstadt is knocking on the door. of Campbell Marsh there. Oh no, Carson Bauers is getting sucked up here, falling backwards. He's soon to be on the bubble. Jordan Walker safe. Eli the Wolf in by a hair. Carson Bauers hits the wall. That could be it for him. Trying just a little bit too hard. Now he passes the baton to his team owner, Cooper Dwight, who could still get into the main event here. Would you look at that? The 68 of Finley Herwig, after getting sent to the back, he has charged through the field and he's up into 12th. Still cannot count out the 68 of Finley Herwig. And he's duking it out with some Bridge to Cup regulars here. The ARCA driver, of all things. Giving them the business as he's moved through the field from 21st all the way up to 12th. This is where the passing gets a little bit harder though. The quicker cars holding up the line at the front of the field. It's going to be hard to pry our eyes from this transfer spot battle. I know we've got some good racing at the front. Oh, and we've got some really good racing at the front. Lap traffic, unfortunately, in the fold. Ralph Oberstadt still flirting with the lead here on Campbell Marsh. But your lap traffic is really mixing things up now. Oh no, Jimmie Logano's gotten stuck behind the lap traffic. That's going to send him outside of a transfer spot. He needs to find an opening, get down there as soon as possible. With all that chaos, Cooper Dwight should be in by the very, very skin of his teeth. 9th. Just like that, and he's trying to make a move on Eli the Wolf. Top 3 were able to execute perfectly and get around the lap traffic as they are setting sail with 7 laps to go. Seven laps remain in the Mini Coke 100. Very admirable, the comeback from the 68 of Finley here. Even if he's not able to get around 2 more cars, he could hang his hat on today being a huge accomplishment for that driver. Holding his own with some of the best of the best. Trying to make a Sigma Cup start, and look at that. Eli the Wolf now faltering towards the end here. Finley trying to find an opening there on the 41. He's going to settle into 10th. And laps are running out. We're down to 5 laps left, now 4 laps. Cooper Dwight hanging it out there on the line. He's going to try to get around the 10 of Jordan Walker, your defending USA Trucks champion. Jordan Walker with not a lot he can do. That 41 looks stout. 3 wide for position. That could get Oh no, no, Finley loses it there. Is there another flat tire on the 68? Why did he falter? Wow. He bounces back, but that transfer spot has drove away from him. Eighth. James Gunner in ninth. How in the world did that? That's crazy, man. Been a wild sprint qualifier here tonight. Campbell Marsh, Ralph Oberstadt, Billy Lovejoy, those three race in the ARCA series. And they're going to get to taste their first action in the Cup Series. As long as they don't blow up. James Gunner, he's going to hold on for the final transfer spot. Even though Jimmie Logano is trying to give it all he's got. But it's going to be for naught. As that's all she wrote, folks. Going home, not making it to the Coke 600, includes the number 10 of Jordan Walker, 28 of Jimmie Logano, the 68 of Finley Herwig, 40 of Carson Bauers, the 14 of Kevin Xavier, Jonah Burridge, Krista Cower, Adam Starr, Daniel Paulus, John Brinker, Dave Steele, Nelson Chacon, Gannon Bird, Alan Malcolm, and Dalton Scott, your 2010 Sigma Cup champion, was in the only big wreck of the night here. Ultimate congratulations to Campbell Marsh, Ralph Oberstadt, and Billy Lovejoy on a podium here in the sprint qualifier. One hour of racing, multiplied by 4 tomorrow, that's what you're going to get. Maybe about anywhere from 3.5 hours to 4 hours being a 600-mile event. Well, if y'all are not amused, not excited, might want to check your pulse and see if you're alive. This race tomorrow should be exciting. I am stoked to see the very colorful cast we've got here of mostly ARCA and truck drivers. Maggie Reams has been a Cup regular this year. Eli the Wolf trying to seek redemption after the heartbreak of the Coke 600 from last year. Cooper Dwight, your Bridge to Cup star, and James Gunner, a truck star. It's going to be interesting to see how this all pans out tomorrow. Throw into the mix Ralph Oberstadt, Billy Lovejoy, Campbell Marsh, David Bird. Those drivers, apart from Ralph Oberstadt, who has made one Cup start, are making their first career Cup starts tomorrow. So huge shout out to them getting the job done here today. It's no small feat. And that's a wrap for tonight, folks. Huge thanks to all y'all that tuned in. It was a exciting sprint qualifier. Man, a sprint qualifier packs that much action, I can only imagine what the real race has in store for us tomorrow. So hopefully all can catch maybe an hour here, an hour there, or even 5 minutes, 1 minute, 5 seconds of the Coke 600 in tomorrow's broadcast. And it'll be interesting to see the storylines that develop tomorrow night. We saw some great clean racing. We did see one huge wreck. I'm expecting that multiplied tomorrow by 4. So with that, though, folks, it is a wrap here tonight. And hopefully we can see you on the next one. Until next time, stay safe out there. Have a wonderful night. This is Jakester, signing out.